Are you looking to learn some Tears of the Kingdom hints, tips and tricks? In this video, we'll take a look at 14 tips that I wish I knew way sooner. Make sure to stay until the very end, because the last tip will make a variety of combat situations go so much smoother. If you fuse any mushroom to a weapon such as a sword or a spear, and then use a charged attack on the enemy, it will actually send them flying through the air. You can do a similar thing with shields as well. Fuse any mushroom to a shield, and then if you perfect parry an enemy's attack, it will completely knock their weapon out of their hand, at which point you can just run on up and pick it up so they can't use it. I tend to find it easier to use the mushrooms with the weapons and the charged attacks as opposed to the perfect parry shield, because the perfect parry doesn't leave mushroom for mistakes. You can fuse a Azzavhar's tail to a weapon to create a whip. If you fuse this onto a weapon such as a spear, this will give you some insane range, so you don't really have to get close to enemies. There's also elemental versions of these tails as well. For example, there's an ice version that has a freezing effect, so you can freeze your enemies in place. So if you want to keep your enemies at a distance, then whip out your Azzavhar's whips. You can whistle to bring your allies close to Link. So if you're in the middle of fighting a bunch of enemies and your allies are miles away and you want to use one of their special abilities, pop a quick whistle and they'll come running. Do you enjoy using a particular weapon more than others? Well, what if I told you you could spawn the pristine version of it down in the depths? What you'll need to do is use and break the decayed version of the weapon, and then if you head down into the depths and look out for one of these ghost soldiers, you'll find the pristine version of any of the decayed weapons that you've previously broken. The pristine weapon spawns will be randomly generated onto these ghost soldiers. You can also place a stamp on your map when you do find a ghost soldier so that you can remember where it is for next time. The pristine version has better attack and durability than the decayed version, and you can tell if it's a pristine version because it has these sparkles next to its name. Pristine weapons will respawn into these soldiers' hands every single blood moon, but the soldiers' hands have to be empty for a weapon to spawn into them. So if there's a weapon on there that you don't particularly like, make sure to pick up the weapon and then throw it away so that a new one can spawn there the next blood moon. You can feed an Endura carrot to your horse to give it 3 temporary extra gallops. Gotta go fast. If you investigate broken down wagons, most of them will reward you with some amber. Quite a lot of armor sets require amber to be upgraded at the Great Fairy Fountains, so I'd recommend holding on to these for your armor upgrades. If you give a dog 4 foods that they enjoy, such as apples, bananas or raw meat, your new furry friend will lead you to a nearby treasure chest as a thank you for the meal. These treasure chests are usually buried in the ground a little bit, so you'll need to use Ultra Hand to pull them up. Are you tired of taking fall damage? Well, then don't take any ever again. If you upgrade the glider armor set to 2 stars, you'll never take fall damage from any height whilst you're wearing this set. On top of that, as the name suggests, it's also really good at helping you glide great distances. To get this set, you'll have to complete 3 diving ceremony challenges, which you'll find in the Sky Islands. They're at the islands that kind of look like this circle shape. Usually there's a sky view tower that's not too far away from these Sky Islands, so you can just blast up that and make your way over. Talk with the steward construct, who will ask you if you want to do the dive-in ceremony. He'll then send you up to the top next to a device, so press the device and start the ceremony. Complete all 3 of these to get the full set, upgrade the set to 2 stars at a Great Fairy, and never take fall damage ever again. If you're particularly fond of a certain sage and the way that they fight, you can actually power them up so they do more damage. You'll need to find 4 sages' wills and then trade them in at a goddess statue. A relatively easy goddess statue to find is the one at Lookout Landing. You can only find sages' wills up in the Sky Islands, so make sure to keep your eyes peeled whilst you're on your travels. Zora weapons will deal double damage when wet. You could get a weapon wet in multiple ways, for example if you're stood in shallow water or it's raining. However, one of the best ways to do this is to use Sidon's water ability. So if you press on Sidon, you'll get the water bubble protection, which will make the weapon wet, which will then double its attack power. When you attack with that on you, the bubble will go and a wave of water will shoot out from your attack. But even though the bubble has gone, Link will stay wet for a good amount of time. You'll be able to tell if Link is wet because you'll see the water dripping animation coming from him. Also, the attack power number is highlighted a blue color, and with the wet Zora weapons, it actually doubles the attack power of the material and the base weapon and then adds them together, so you can be dishing out some crazy damage with these. You can unfuse materials from weapons and keep both the weapon and the material by talking to an NPC in Tarrytown. Talk to the NPC called Pelison to unfuse. They'll charge you 20 rupees each and every time that you do this. One very useful tip that we can do with unfusing is every time that you defeat a Wizrobe, they'll drop a magic type weapon and you can actually extract the jewel from that weapon, which means you can get your hands on a bunch of rubies, sapphires, topazes and stuff like that, and then you can sell those to merchants to make a lot of rupees. And if you wanted to, you could even sell those to Romella, the Gerudo NPC, for even more rupees. Another trick that we can use with this unfused NPC, you could also double up your sword, spear and shield storage at your house, because you could fuse 2 swords together and then store them, and the unfused NPC is just outside your house, so you could use this trick if you want to double up your weapon storage. If you use Ultra Hand on a Flux Construct's main block and then wiggle it loose, it will actually cause the Flux Construct to instantly fall apart, leaving it open for you to run up and put in your damage. If you wanted to, you could also wiggle multiple parts of the construct out, and then eventually that will also cause it to fall apart. Sometimes that's easier to do because the main block can be really hidden and out of reach. You could also wiggle off its hand so that when it tries to hit you, it actually doesn't reach. Quick question, what is your favourite Legend of Zelda game? What was the first Zelda game that you played? The first one that I played was the original Legend of Zelda on the NES. Yes, I have been playing games for a very long time, and my favourite game is Ocarina of Time. Let us know what yours are down in the comments. Struggling to get items to turn correctly and fuse when building stuff with Ultra Hand? This trick can help. Whilst using Ultra Hand on an object, hold down R and press ZL and it will automatically reset the orientation of the item. This can save a lot of time and frustration if the item that you're Ultra Handing is spinning about all over the place. You could say that it's ultra handy. You can fuse a one-time use material to a forest dweller's weapon to keep using that material over and over again until that weapon breaks. We can attach different materials to get different effects. For example, if you attached a Muddlebud to a forest dweller's sword and then you attacked an enemy with that, it would cause the confusion cloud to happen on the enemy, which would then cause any enemies caught in that cloud to attack their own allies. This is really useful for crowd controlling loads of enemies. There is a slight cooldown on using the material that's attached to the weapon. You'll see like a puff of smoke when it's ready to be used again. You can also do this with a Dazzle Fruit. This one kind of acts like a flash grenade that blinds enemies and it makes them drop their weapons. The Dazzle Fruit flash will also instantly kill the stealth enemies. If you get grabbed by the Gloom Hands, you can also give them a quick bop with this one and it'll stun them and let you run away. You can get Forest Dwellers weapons from the Korok Forest, and there's even a quest there that rewards you with a bunch of different Forest Dwellers weapons. To get to the Korok Forest, you will have to go down a nearby chasm and head into the depths, then make your way underneath the forest and ascend up into it. The weapons tend to work best in combination with other weapons. For example, using the Forest Dweller's weapon as the one that inflicts the status ailment on the enemy, then swapping over to a more powerful weapon to put in some damage. Then when you want to re-inflict the status ailment again, swap back to your Forest Dweller's weapon. Another good material that we can fuse to them is a Puff Shroom. This one acts a bit like a smoke bomb where enemies will lose sight of you. This can allow you to get some really easy sneak strikes. On top of that, if a Lionel loses sight of you in this smoke bomb, then they won't even fight back, they'll just stand there. So by attaching the right material for the combat situation onto your Forest Dweller's weapon, you'll always be ready for even the toughest of battles. Let me know in the comments which of these tips you found the most useful. If you did find any of these tips useful, a like on this video would be massively appreciated. If you're feeling extra generous, then please do share this video with someone that might find it useful. Some more videos have just popped up right now. If you did enjoy this video, then it's likely you'll enjoy one of those as well.